Doing guys, Mr. Poestyle here, and today we're going to talk a little bit about Metroid. This was, to me, one of the greatest games on the NES when it came out. I remember getting it. Now, I don't remember if I asked for it for a birthday, if I got it for Christmas, or if I spent my my paper route money. I worked delivering newspapers, saved up all my money I could for NES games. But I got Metroid back in the day, and I absolutely loved that game. And, I played the hell out of it until I beat it. Now, I believe it was Nintendo Power that eventually gave you the walkthrough. But before that, we were mapping everything, or I was. Writing down the passcodes because it wasn't a battery game, so I wrote down the passwords. And sometimes my zeros were O's and O's were zeros, and you typed in what you wrote and it looked like crap and you did it wrong. Too bad we didn't have cell phones to take a quick picture, digital cameras to take a quick picture. But then again, we didn't have internet either. You could have just looked it up. You had to wait for Nintendo Power or another publication to come out with little surprises or maps, full-blown maps. And I do believe I ended up following one of those, but I was mapping everything out on my school tablet paper, notebook paper for a while there. But I loved the game, and I beat the game, and I just thought that was totally awesome. And this is it. This is the game I had from when I was a kid. We never saved the boxes back then. I did save the instruction manuals to all the games that I had back then, and I still have them. The boxes, Christmas Day, birthday, whatever, they went into the burnable garbage. We didn't live right in town. We could burn garbage. My dad wanted that stuff thrown in there with the wrapping paper. Burn that stuff. So that's what we did. But this is it. This is my game from when I was a very, very early young teenager. I got the NES Christmas of '86, so I was 13 that year. And eventually got this. I was probably 14 when I got this. Here's the instruction manual. Still pretty good condition, considering. Even the game. Always kept these things nice and clean. So, it still looks pretty good, We are pulling away a little from the top here. Is there a staple in there, or is there just one staple? But this is the manual. Nice color manual like we had in the good old days. We had a story there. I'm sure if you don't have the original manual, you can find these. I'm sure there's digital scans somewhere on the intronets. But like all my stories, we'll go into it here. Several things. Got this game. Loved this game. Early on in its release. Don't remember exactly when. It was early. Played the hell out of it. Loved it. Beat it. And to me, the greatest games in the beginning for NES. I didn't play Zelda right away. I eventually borrowed it from a friend and played it, and I actually ended up liking Zelda 2 more. I know a lot of people will disagree with me there, but I ended up buying it. I didn't get Zelda till more recent years, within the last 10 years, 5 years. But Metroid, Super Mario Brothers 2 in particular, Castlevania 2 in particular, loved that. Kid Icarus. I know a lot of people are on either side of that too. Loved Kid Icarus. So when I think of NES originally, I always think of Super Mario Brothers. I think of Metroid, and I think of Kid Icarus. I loved them. I beat them all at the time. These were way bigger things that I had ever seen, because before that it was Atari 2600 from December of 1982 up until pretty close to when I got this in '86, my NES, I should say. So, I had this first. December '91 was my senior year of high school. I got a Super Nintendo, so then eventually Super Metroid came out. And loved that game. Owned it, bought it, played it, beat it. Absolutely incredible. I loved it so much. But I got married in '96. I joined the Air Force. I had my Nintendo and Super Nintendo. Luckily, I didn't have my Atari 2600 games with me. Had my Nintendo and Super Nintendo with me for whatever reason, just kind of in storage. Bought a PlayStation because that's what everybody that I knew in the Air Force had, all my buddies at my shop, so we could play games together or know what each other was talking about. I had the PlayStation, the original. At some point, me and my new wife, I married her just before I went into the Air Force. We were in dire need of money, didn't make much as a young airman in the U.S. Air Force. Well, I sold my Super Nintendo and all the games for it. I sold my PlayStation. I didn't have many games for it yet. I only had it for a year or two at that time. Come 97 or 8, whenever it was that I sold it. And I didn't sell the NES, obviously. I still have the games, still have the NES, still play on it all the time. But I sold that Super Nintendo with Mario Paint. Big deal, huh? With the mouse. You know, I sold the Super Scope 6 and the couple of games I had for it. Castlevania 4, Super Metroid, Super Mario World. Sold it all. That is one of my big regrets in gaming and game collecting, because I started collecting for them again. But I never did get the more expensive ones back yet. I only started within the last 5 years. I bought a Super Nintendo off of a work friend, and I pick up games here and there for it. Mostly through Video Games Monthly. I'll get my Super Nintendo games, and I do have a lot of the garbage ones, sports titles and stuff right now. I have some of the good ones. I made sure I got Super Mario World because I can play that game all the time. But I don't have my physical copy of Super Metroid is what I'm getting at. I can play it on the Switch online service. I can play it on emulator on my Wii. My modded Wii. I have the Super Nintendo and Nintendo Minis and hack them and put games. So I have different ways to play it. Would have been nice to have the physical. I don't know what it's running right now. I know it's pricier. Don't have that. And then the other story that gets kind of involved, kind of, not really. As I've said before on here, I wasn't into handhelds. When Game Boy came out, your Game Gear came out, Nomad, your Lynx, all that stuff. I thought they looked cool enough, but to me, inferior to NES is what I thought of Game Boy, just because of the olive green color of the screen or whatever. But at the same time, I could only get games for probably one or the other, was my thinking as a kid. And I wanted Nintendo games, so I wasn't going to split that up and get maybe Game Boy game instead of a Nintendo game. That's just the way I thought at the time. So I didn't get into the handhelds like that until I had been in the Air Force. I got out. I went to school for fiber optics. I worked in the telephone and healthcare services, putting up nurse call stations, programming business telephone systems. I got laid off from that, and I went back to school to become an electrician. And at that point, you're talking about 2004-ish, 2003, I noticed people playing the Game Boy Advance, whatever year that came out. And at my school, I was going to school with some younger guys. By then I was into my 20s, but there was 18-year-olds and stuff there. During breaks and stuff, they were playing Game Boy Advance. And I thought, well, that's pretty neat. So I went out and got a Game Boy Advance SP. And that's when I saw the Metroid games that were out for it. And we had Metroid Zero Mission, which is what? It's Metroid 1 and then some. And Metroid Fusion. So I played both of those games, and I loved those games. Thought they were great. Now, consoles, home consoles, like I said, I owned the 2600, NES, Super NES, PlayStation, eventually called PlayStation 1. So I skipped over the N64 back then. Recent years I got one. But first time I betrayed Nintendo, I guess you could say. So I was on PlayStation, then the next wave came out. This was a new era in my life. 2001, we had our daughter after I was out of the Air Force. So I was still playing on my PlayStation. I knew I wanted to get a PlayStation 2 or an Xbox original. And a buddy of mine had the PlayStation 2. Well, my brother, when we moved back, we moved just a few blocks away from him in town. He bought an Xbox for whatever reason. So, even though, I was a little strapped for cash, my wife, I told her, just get me an Xbox or a PlayStation. She asked me which I wanted for my birthday that year. And she got me an Xbox, which was a good idea because my brother lived right up the street. He was single. He was buying a lot of games for himself, and I was able to borrow those games. Just, hey, walk up the street and say, hey, buddy, let me borrow them games. So I didn't own a lot of games for my Xbox at the time. I borrowed a lot of them from him, or I rented them from the grocery store that had a video department at the time. And eventually, somewhere down the road, PlayStation 3 rolls around. I don't know why exactly I picked PlayStation 3, but I did. And I traded in that Xbox with the couple games that I had for it. And I had the little DVD remote for it and sensor for it. So I wasn't into the GameCube. Metroid Prime came about, and I'm not well versed in Metroid Prime at all. I didn't play them that generation, whatever came out Prime wise. I don't know. What was there? 3 primes? 4 primes? I don't know. Let me know. Or I can just Google it. But anyway, I didn't have the Prime games. Eventually, like I said, I got rid of the Xbox. Got a PlayStation 3. Played that online with my brother. He went from Xbox to... He went to 360 first. But when I got a PlayStation 3, he had the extra money. He's like, I'll get a PlayStation 3 too so we can play together. And then our buddy that we grew up with from way back in the day, he got a PlayStation 3. So we all played that together. Once that generation was over, we got a PlayStation 4 just because we had done PlayStation 3. So we do play modern games. I haven't got the 5 yet. That's probably the next step. But right now it's like, I tried to get it last year around this time for my son as a Christmas gift. And every time it was in my cart, it was gone. Haven't tried again since. If it's ever widely available, we'll probably have the 6 by that time. Then I'll probably pick one up. But I do play the Switch. That is the Switch and the PS4. Actually, I've been playing the Switch more than the PS4 lately. For a while, it was nothing but PS4. But we had a Wii and a Wii U in there, so we didn't get the N64. We didn't get the GameCube. I have those now in my collection, both of them. But I got a Wii for my kids, and I soft modded it immediately. So I got it a couple years after it was out when I found out about soft modding. And I did try one of the Prime games on it, where they came out in the pack of trilogy and whatever. And I tried it, and just the first person view, I'll be honest, it's on me. I didn't give it a whole heck of a lot of a chance. I'm like, this ain't the Metroid I love, So I didn't play it at the time too much. I tried it out and I was just like, what is this? So for me, this was something I was waiting for. I liked when the Mario games went back to 2D or 2.5D or whatever. I liked the newer Mario games too. Odyssey was awesome. I did play 64 several times in the later years after the 64 was out, the Mario 64. But Metroid Metroid Dread was announced. This was one I wanted to try. We went back to the 2D, 2.5D. And of course it's reminiscent of D's. D's nuts. Got him. Got him. So that's where we are today. I did pre-order this, but it didn't come last Friday when it released like it was supposed to. I didn't end up getting it until, I want to say Monday. Monday it came. But I didn't pre-order right away either. I pre-ordered like a few days before it came out, so through Amazon. So, in this video, now that I've blathered on for my full history of video gaming for you. I'm going to give this a try. We're not going to spend a lot of time. I don't have a lot of time tonight. Just so happens my daughter went to Fright Nights at Kennywood Park with friends. My son is working. My wife was gone. So I'm going to play the intro to this. You'll see the intro to it, and I'll play a few minutes of gameplay. I won't know what I'm doing. I'm going to suck. Probably going to die in it. But that's okay. That's Metroid. I got to get the feel for it, and with these newfangled controls. So hope you enjoy the video and check it out. Here's Metroid Dread. There's a billion other videos of it out there on the internet if you want to see more of it. I don't know if I'll record and continue on my channel any further than this. More up to go back to one of the old games and maybe play one of them instead, or all of them. Would still like to get to some Halloween games. We're getting close. I hope that happens. I'm not positive that that's going to happen, but I hope so. And you know, I have a couple homebrews. I have one that's coming in the mail for Intellivision. I have one that's been sitting here for a week or two for my Dreamcast that I want to get out to you. And as I keep mentioning, eventually we're going to play Laser Ghost on the Sega Master System with the phaser gun. I keep saying that. It's been sitting here. We're going to talk about Vigilante, the sequel to Kung Fu Master. This is for the 2600, and I also have Kung Fu on the NES. So that's what's coming up. And I did one out of the, 5 Action Max games for you so far, and I promised you the other ones that I have. I don't have the full collection. I'm missing one. We'll get to Action Max too. I do have a vacation week coming up in a couple weeks. Hopefully I can get to all of this, if not some of this. Let's cut a chunk out of it. And maybe we'll just space it out on the channel if we can. But that is it, guys. I hope you enjoy this video. Metroid Dread. I'm going to suck at it. But Metroid is a kick-ass franchise. IMO. That's hipster for young kid for, in my opinion. Thanks for watching.
soon be entering ZDR's atmosphere.
The bounty for this mission does not seem appropriate. The risk clearly outweighs the reward. Treat our lost assets with care, lady.
Entering the atmosphere in T-10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That elevator leads to the depths of an underground facility. Signal quality is completely low. Remote communication remains broken. Try to connect to the facility's network when you reach the bottom. That way, you can remain in contact. Any objections, lady?
Uploading data.
So, you've accessed the network station. Well done, Samus. I have reviewed your vital signs and video log from the data you uploaded. I've run a full analysis, but I cannot account for why you lost consciousness. My readings indicate dramatic physical changes in you. Whatever caused these changes seems to have stripped you of most abilities. You might call it physical amnesia. That brings me to your assailant. I am checking the Federation database against your video log. It appears to have been a Chozo. The attacker's identity is not yet clear. I have determined that you are somewhere within the depths of ZPR. Your top priority should be to return to your ship on the surface. This situation is precarious. Trust your instincts as you navigate upward. This planet appears to consist of multiple areas. Shuttles, elevators, and other modes of transport connect them. Keep an eye out for ways to reach the surface. The ship's location is marked on your global map. Check it for yourself. You may encounter pockets of low temperature. Your Metroid DNA renders you vulnerable to such environments. Spending time in cold areas will be harmful to you. There are many such cold areas scattered underground. Do not enter them with your basic power suit. One final thing. Underground interference is preventing radio transmissions. Check in with me at any network stations you find.
Oh, Nacho. Come here, Nacho. No biting. No bite. Ooh, no biting. Oh, Nacho, stop.